let's talk about the thing. We know all the patches, and it's a patch cadence that is more aggressive than Legion, I guess. Technically.
Technically, yes.
It is every 60.08 days if you divide a year by 6 instead of every 77 days. So there you have it. Yeah, hey, I mean, man, interesting. So they posted a full roadmap for this year. That's definitely good. That's the sort of thing we have never got before.
And we've asked for on multiple occasions, many times, because it's, hello, what's our game? Should I play this game, please?
Ybarra said it's something they wanted to do for more teams back in June, so now they've actually done it this time around.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, straight up, they're listening to people's feedback. That's good.
Sure
it's crazy. Yeah, and we can actually dive into it. There's a little bit from Holly on the road ahead. Okay, she calls out the patch cadence of Legion, which people liked. And I think the thing to remember here is Legion is an expansion that had a plan and it went to that plan. The next 2 expansions didn't. And I think that's the really pivotal thing about the next 2 expansions, right? BFA completely fell off the rails immediately because people hated its guts at launch. Right, with like all the Azerite gear and all of that, and then patch 8.1 had to include a whole bunch of things that would help to offset the Azerite gear problem, and then they made the essences, which had to go on top of the Azerite gear, and, yada, 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 yada. So that obviously will have, messed around with the production schedule of BFA, which at the time was one of the slowest ones that we'd had, and we weren't very pleased about that. Little did we know that Shadowlands was about to happen, where we'd be having patches, major patches, every 220 to 240 days.
Yep.
Because they completely f***ed it. So it's kind of weird. Whereas now, like with Dragonflight, they say there should always be something around the corner. There's 6 content patches fairly evenly spaced out around 2023. What you can basically extrapolate from that is that Season 3 will probably start in and around a similar time to when Season 1 started.
I assume you mean in the next year, not at the exact same time?
Oh, yeah, Season 3 just began. But yeah, in the next year. I think that's a really, really good cadence. I saw some people being like, what, only a major patch every 6 months? Well, that's the season thing. If a season starts to become too short, then that can be kind of frustrating to people. Now, that being said, a season that is 6 months that is Sepulchre is different from a season that is 6 months that is this raid, because this is an 8-boss raid.
Yeah.
So maybe Season 1 will be a little bit trimmed in order to allow for Season 3 to not have to come out in, like, December. That would kind of make sense to me because this is not a big raid. It's a good raid, which is more important. Really good raid, but it's not as big. So overall, then, they just say they want like new world events, updates to systems, evergreen holidays, new dungeons, narrative chapters, cinematics, just stuff happening pretty much all the time, always something to expect. They say the 10.0.7 will have a new quest campaign and repeatable world quests set in the Forbidden Reach, where the Dracula returns, so we'll get like a bunch of story and stuff there, which is definitely good, and that will make the next big patch obvious. Also, heritage armor for humans and orcs. Did see some people being salty about that because there's already human and orc looking armor.
Warfront. Yep.
The Warfront stuff. Well, maybe they want to do stuff that doesn't look like the Warfronts. I think that's okay for them to do, and maybe there's a story they want to tell that makes sense to tell with those two factions now.
Yeah, it's a little bit like, I think, maybe less so with the orcish stuff, but I know the human stuff's obviously Alliance, and there's room for the human not being the Alliance. There's room for humans as humans and not the political faction they belong to, and kind of a little bit more of their history there, I think. Just, I mean, obviously if people want more Lordaeron stuff, I can't imagine Heritage Armor deals too much of that. The hardcore thing, because obviously, it was like, hey, you were raised in North Shire Valley, why do you care about Lordaeron as a human? Maybe that kind of thing going on. But it is like, if you were to take it in good faith that they're doing it, you would assume it's going to be different. You would assume it's not them just going, we're creatively bankrupt, let's do the same thing again.
Yeah, I mean,
yeah.
It's funny. They will certainly get a lot more flack for smaller things than most game teams. That's because most game teams did not just do Battle for Azeroth and Shadowlands.
And it is also...
We always come back to that.
And it's also a thing where I think it's the hard part of people loving your game too much.
That too.
Like, people love World of Warcraft to the point it is, let's just say, somewhat unreasonable. And that just kind of carries through with all the negative sides of that you get. Same with any, like, sort of, like, hyper-intense fandom. It's like, you look at how much, like, I guess, like, Japanese idols and voice actresses and stuff get such an incredible fan base. And then they go on a date and someone tries to stab them. Oh, sweet. Well done.
Did that recently happen?
No, a long time ago.
Oh.
A long time ago.
Wow.
But yeah, that kind of stuff.
So, she did say that they don't want there to be a specific formula for the size and shape of the updates, but the goal is more Warcraft, so more story, more content, more rewards, more events, more tech improvements, less downtime between them. Doesn't want to spoil anything, but she's confident there's at least a couple of surprises along the way that no one is expecting, which... You know, I read that as her knowing that in the interviews people have talked about a Mage Tower-like experience and alluded to an archaeology revamp. Maybe I'm being, like, too, reading into things. Who knows? But overall, it's pretty good when we actually look at the roadmap then. Trading Post, Primalist tomorrow. Who knows what's going on in there right now? There's some world quests that can appear there.
Primalist tomorrow? Is the patch out that soon? Wow.
Well, here's the weird thing. It's called the Primalist Future in the game right now, but it was originally called the Primalist Tomorrow. So I have to assume this is just them and the team also not being sure what it's called. But anyway, content in there would definitely be pretty good. Like, there is already content in there.
There's the
just pretty sparse.
Trial of the Elements and occasionally a world quest. So I guess they're going to add some, like, a quest in there and kind of expand it a little bit. Just because there's a lot of potential in it, so why not?
Yeah. Of course, the Trading Post.
Yeah.
We've got White and Grey Transmogs, Forbidden Reach stuff, so outdoor world content in the Forbidden Reach. Hopefully it's more than just, like, world quests happen to spawn there, too. Heritage Armor, holiday updates. I think that's pretty big, actually.
It depends on what
they're good.
are, but yes.
If they're good. If this arrives and it turns out that, like, say, Easter through to Brewfest have actually just been revamped, like, that would be insane.
Yeah.
That maybe is a little bit too much, but there is, you'll notice, for patch 10.1.7, which happens in the fall, more holiday refreshes.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know what the difference is between holiday update and holiday refresh.
That's a good point, actually.
Maybe this is an update to existing things. Maybe the refresh is who knows?
Yeah. I mean, maybe it's a case of update is, hey, we've thrown a couple new toys into Brewfest. And then refresh will be, hey, we've made Winter's Veil actually a bit different this time. I think that's the thing where people are like, oh, like Winter's Veil now. Like, wow, why is it the same as always? Like, yeah, they'll probably get to it. But just on the point of the Primalist tomorrow, someone mentioned in chat, sorry, I forgot who it was, said that there's a blue post on it. And you're right, there was. It is a new event has begun taking place in the Primalist Future. The blue post calls it the future. Shit, the tomorrow's a better name. Anyway, head to the portal that can be found at the Temporal Conflicts, and the Storm's Fury event will spin up every 5 hours. The Primalists are bringing strongest forces to bear to preserve their plans and dominate Azeroth. You'll head out with a group of mighty adventurers to seal their portals. And then you'll receive the Essence of the Storm, which will be exchanged for rewards. And you can buy stuff to help weather the storm, as the Primalists try to freeze their enemies to the bone. Testable in PTR later on.
Oh!
I can later update.
Alright, there we go.
Yeah, so there's
new event.
Yeah, which is, I guess it's like the pragmatic part of me is like, what's the item level reward going to scale to? What's the rewards? Well, then the idea of it being this whatever, I don't know. Knowing them, they probably have 20 million different appearances they can just throw in. But like, yeah, here's like, do you want the Primalist set? Yeah, go farm it. Something. That would make sense. That would be it, I think.
Okay, cool. So, Season 2, patch 10.0.1. Sorry, 10.1. New zone, new raid, new PvP season, new M+ dungeon pool, profession updates, UI improvements. So, looks like a typical patch. Again, within that, though, there's a hell of a lot, and we don't exactly know what that means.
Yep.
I saw a lot of people look at that and be like, oh, boo, it's just another patch. And it's like,
it is.
What do you want?
I mean, yeah, that's the part, right? That's the thing. It's
like WoW's pretty good right now. If they can do another patch that's like, hey, here's a patch, it's a new raid, zone's cool, it's things to do, it's fun. Like, that's actually the game.
Yeah, I think that's there's a weird thing where I think with the launch of an expansion, people get spoiled all the time. And it's the same for like every game where it's like, here's the big patch. And they're like, can we have that again, please? It's like, could you give us a while at least? So it's like, I think it's kind of awkward because I think the positioning of these as like, hey, there's a big patch. Like the season 2 is the big blue one on the roadmap here. And I think that's like, I think that's almost shooting them in the foot a little bit because people will look at the blue ones, go, they're the most important ones. And they'll say, oh, but that's all the stuff we already have. And then they'll like psychologically underplay the importance, reading the rest of them, go, oh, because I mean, Heritage Armor, Holiday Updates, Forbidden Reach, Mega Dungeon, World Events, Story and Quests, and like the 10.17. It's like, that's likely not going to be a lot of time or a lot of content. But it is almost certainly going to be at least you log in, maybe you log in 2 or 3 times, and you just get new quest lines to sort out, as well as all the other stuff that's happening. So it just feels like more regular things that actually happen, as opposed to what's new in my video game.
Nothing.
Oh, nothing for 6 months. Okay, sweet. That's just, it's a trade-off they have to make, because these are like, there's obviously more stuff in this than there has been before in World of Warcraft, but I think they are also splitting patches up a little bit to get the cadence going. I think people are going to feel a wee bit because I mean, like the Mega Dungeon usually rolls in with major patches, not. So it's like that kind of thing of people like, these patches are really small. It's like, yeah, but you're getting 6 of them instead of 2. It's like, there's a trade-off there in terms of how people think about it in a way, I think, which is just
then there's
idle
things like
thoughts, to be honest.
content and system updates. Right, there's just 2 of those there.
Those are very much placeholder for we don't want to tell you what we're doing.
Yeah, because one of those could just be archaeology revamp. One of those could be Mage Tower-like experience.
Yeah. Or they could be
looking at season 3.
They could be basically nothing, and they could later say, "Oh, that wasn't done in time. A content and system update is we've changed your valor cap or something." Like, it could be anything, but that's intentional linguistically because they don't want to set in stone what they're doing or tell us what it is.
I'm seeing like the additional content and features. So for patch 0.2.
Yeah.
Seems like maybe that'll be the more expansive one. Also, it says new Mythic Plus dungeon pool. So if they do the usual and pull 2, pull the Mega Dungeon in,
Yeah.
then that means they need to find 6 dungeons we haven't played before.
Yeah.
Because they will have went through the original 8 from this expansion. So I wonder what they'll do there.
The Mega Dungeon will be ready to roll into that.
Yeah, but that's only 2.
Oh, yeah.
So there'll be 6 dungeons, which...
likely just recycle some, I imagine. So I imagine if they had more dungeons planned, they would tell us. Because they told us Mega Dungeon. So
yeah.
I assume they'll just cycle around like the fan favorites or something like that there. That's what I expect to happen. Or unless they just kind of go, it's Mega Dungeon time again. How many Mega Dungeons are there? There's 4, right?
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, I suppose so.
Yeah.
Now, another thing's kind of interesting here. Mm-hmm. We can kind of extrapolate a bit of 2024. WoW expansions come out roughly every 2 years.
This, but then again.
Yeah, it's kind of this, but again, but season 5 is the greatest hits season, like what we had with season 4 of this expansion, or still in Shadowlands mode. Yeah, we'll have that, but it'll be shorter, which likely means there will be a 10.3 that is a full content patch for Dragonflight, which is usually what they do.
Yeah, it'll be weird having that back again, I think.
Yeah, because we haven't had that in a while. Because the game's been banjaxed.
That's
certainly nice to think that there's a large chance we won't have like a big content drought. And certainly if even with Shadowlands being screwed, it didn't have a content drought because they did Season 4. And they've also said that the next equivalent of Season 4 will have more for world content players to do as well. I guess the other thing...
That's, they can just like fit it and scale all the existing world content up because it's actually positioned as world content, whereas you couldn't do that in Shadowlands very much. They did it with like world bosses and everyone's like, whatever. So I guess they could do it that way, and like, because that's why like they're adding like this new... I literally forget what it's called. Primalist Tomorrow fighty stormy eventy thingy There's like that's the official name. They'll add that, and then they can, if they maybe add like another couple of those based on like, say we go down to Castlegar and 10.1, etc., and it's all just, hey, there's a new version of soup down here. There's a new version of the hunt. There's a new version of help the Gyardine do something or kill the Gyardine or whatever. However that story turns out, they could very much just go, we can scale up for this week. We've scaled up everything in the Dragon Isles. This week we've scaled up everything in Castlegar. This week we've scaled up everything in Nyalotha in the past, which is definitely where we're going to in 10.2. That's the new zone. Something like that, I imagine.
Well, actually, I don't know. If 10.2 came out in November. Yeah, no, see, if 10.2 came out in November, actually you wouldn't have time to do another full patch. And then a greatest hit season. Unless the greatest hit season is something that would be significantly larger. Kind of hard to say exactly.
It's really hard to know. It's like I think they'll play it by ear and have it like as long as it needs to be for content creation at the end. So I think that worked out really well for them in S4. Though they went, yeah, we'll just, how long does it need to be? We could extend this by as long as we want. We could run this into January, February if we wanted, and people were like, sure, there's no content, but whatever. They'd be okay enough with it, I think.
Yeah.
Who actually enjoy the thing in the game because of the way it was. I think I'll be alright.
So overall, this is a massive win. This is exactly what people wanted.
Yeah, this is a roadmap that tells you there's a future for World of Warcraft, something that we haven't felt in quite some time, and at least like from the horse's mouth themselves. So obviously, you kind of go, oh well, I see what they're doing. I see what they seem to be doing. Okay, well, we've went through the credits, and here's the amount of people they have. So obviously, there's going to be room for them to bring new people in and more content being made, etc., etc., etc. And then now they're like, oh yeah, by the way, we're going to make content. They're like, game developers making content?
Well,
2023? Jesus Christ. That's how surprised I am. My ears turned upside down.
He's fucking Dobby mode now.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's them actually publicly committing to the stuff. That's the bit that kind of counts.
Yeah.
I mean, they do say, obviously, timing can change. That is true.
But you can't not say that, or you just leave yourself open to being legally shot. Legally shot as in shot within the realm of the legal system, not shot. Yeah.
So there's that. It's good.
Master has given Dobby a roadmap. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's really good. There's not too much else to say about it, just than to double down on how, this is so much better than what we've been used to.